All right, China has issued a strong and unusually blunt response to what it described as the United States' use of force against a sovereign state, warning that such actions threaten peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean. China firmly opposes it. Beijing declared a rare statement that signals how seriously the situation is being taken at the highest global level.
We never believe that any country can act as the world's police, nor do we accept that any country can claim to be an international judge. The sovereignty and security of all countries should be fully protected by international law. China has always opposed the use or threat of force in international relations and opposes imposing one country's will on another.
And at the center of the storm is Venezuela, a country already fractured by years of political tension, sanctions, and international isolation. But now reports circulating across global media claims that Venezuela's president and his wife have been arrested, triggering outrage among allies and a celebration among critics.
Executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
While details remain disputed, the implications are massive. Because for years, the United States has refused to recognize Venezuela's leadership as legitimate, accusing the president of stealing elections, ruling as a dictator, and being responsible for the deaths of thousands of civilians during political crackdowns and unrest.
The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, it's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment.
Then Washington argues that its position is rooted in human rights and democracy. But critics say that this moment exposes something deeper, which is raw American power.
Forgive me if I begin 2026 on a personal note. To all intents and purposes, this morning, Venezuela is an American colony. I've got mixed feelings about that. Whatever the White House says, I don't think this is really about drugs. It's about oil. Full disclosure, my family came to England from Guyana, the country next door to Venezuela. It's where I grew up and where I went to school. It's also where I learnt to handle a rifle. For almost 2 centuries, Venezuela has claimed more than half of Guyana's territory, the Essequibo region, as its own. My generation grew up preparing for an invasion. But I don't think anyone really thought we'd go to war over impenetrable rainforest. And then, in 2015, American companies hit oil in Guyanese waters. At 30 billion barrels, it's one of the biggest oil finds in decades. Unsurprisingly, Caracas immediately rediscovered its enthusiasm for Guyanese territory, even redrawing the map of Venezuela sent to every school to include Essequibo. So I don't think there's much doubt what is driving Mr. Trump's military adventure. He wants to protect America's vast oil interests in the region and to feed his refineries with Venezuelan crude. And if that means upsetting the international rules-based order, I don't think Mr. Trump will be too bothered. After all, American presidents, including Democrats like Kennedy and Obama, have always been clear on one thing. The first rule of the rules-based order is that America makes the rules to suit.
Beijing also warns that arresting or forcibly removing a sitting leader of a sovereign nation sets a dangerous precedent, one where might replace international law. According to China, this is not just about Venezuela. It is about who controls the global order. And to many observers, this also moment sends a chilling message. If a powerful nation like the United States can ignore sovereignty, reject election outcomes, and act unilaterally, then which country is truly safe tomorrow? But now, supporters of the US say that this proves America remains the ultimate global enforcer. But critics say that it proves something else, that America has become the greatest geopolitical threat to weaker states.
Thanks very much for joining me. Donald Trump has once again shown his contempt for the Constitution and the rule of law. Let's be clear. The President of the United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country into war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro. The United States does not have the right, as Trump stated this morning, to run Venezuela. Congress must immediately pass a war powers resolution to end this illegal military operation and reassert its constitutional responsibilities. Trump's attack on Venezuela will not make the United States and the world safer. Quite the contrary. This brazen violation of international law gives a green light to any country on earth that may wish to attack another nation to seize their resources or change their governments. This is the horrific logic of force that Putin used to justify his brutal attack on Ukraine. Trump and his administration have made it clear that they want to revive the Monroe Doctrine, a belief that claims that the United States has the right to dominate the affairs of the hemisphere. They have spoken openly about controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, the largest in the world. Let's make no mistake about it. This is rank imperialism. It recalls the darkest chapters of U.S. interventions in Latin America, which have left a terrible legacy. It will and should be condemned by the democratic world. Trump campaigned for president on an America First platform. He claimed to be the peace candidate. Well, at a time when 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, when our healthcare system is collapsing, when people throughout this country cannot afford housing, and when artificial intelligence threatens millions of jobs, it is time for the president to focus on the crises facing this country and end the military adventurism abroad. Trump is failing in his job to run the United States of America. He should not be trying to run Venezuela. Thank you very much.
As Latin America watches nervously and the Caribbean braces fall, one thing is clear. This is no longer just about Venezuela. It is about power, control, and the future of global sovereignty.
It's running policy. The policy with regards to this. We want Venezuela to move in a certain direction because not only do we think it's good for the people of Venezuela, it's in our national interest. It either touches on something that's a threat to our national security or touches on something that's either beneficial or harmful.
And are you involved in that transition,
so obviously
Secretary?
I'm very involved in this. Well, of course. I mean, I think everyone knows I'm pretty involved on politics in this hemisphere. Obviously, as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, very involved in all these elements. The Department of War plays a very important role here, along with the Department of Justice, for example, because they're the ones that have to go to court. So this is a team effort.
And of course, the world is holding its breath.
The U.S. launched a massive criminal bombing campaign on Venezuela. This war has nothing to do with drug trafficking. If the U.S.
How legal are Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela? The White House did not seek congressional authorization to capture Venezuelan authoritarian leader Nicolás Maduro.
Venezuela libre! ¡Viva! ¡No se pudo! ¡Sí se pudo! ¡Sí se pudo! ¡Sí se pudo! Sí.